Welcome back to the deep dive. It's really great to have you with us.
Good to be here.
So today we're doing something a little bit different, a little unusual.
Yeah.
Normally, we look at a book or maybe a series of articles, something that's been bubbling up over the past few months.
A broader trend.
Exactly. But today we're zeroing in. We're getting really specific, looking at a single moment in time.
Like a core sample of the internet.
That's a great way to put it. We are setting the dial on our time machine, so to speak, to Monday, January 26th, 2026.
And it being a Monday is, I think, significant. Mondays always have a certain kind of energy, don't they? A certain mood.
They really do. And the source material we have in front of us today, it perfectly captures that Monday morning vibe.
A certain frustration.
A lot of frustration. We're looking at a blog post. It's from a blog called Netizen, and it's written by an author named Paramendra. And the title alone, it's one of those that makes you just stop scrolling. It is called The Global Crisis of Unknowing Stupidity.
It's not pulling any punches, is it? It's not exactly subtle.
Not at all. And I have to be honest, when I first saw that title, I flinched a little, you know?
I get it.
It feels aggressive. It feels like the kind of headline someone writes right after they've lost a terrible argument on Twitter or something.
The rage post.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And my first question was, is this just a rant? Or is there something, more substantial hiding under all that anger?
And that is absolutely the right question to ask.
Yeah.
Because on the surface,
Yes.
it absolutely has the cadence of a rant.
Right.
It's angry, it's sarcastic, it's very funny in places, but it's also incredibly biting. But if you sort of strip away the humor and the aggression,
Underneath it all.
it's actually a very structured argument about epistemology.
Epistemology. Okay, so how we know what we know.
Or maybe more to the point here, how we fail to know things.
Yeah.
It's about the mechanics of ignorance in the modern age.
So epistemology disguised as a rage blog.
That's a perfect summary. And to really get it, you have to look at the context the author provides. We're not just reading the post in a vacuum.
You mean the sidebar on the blog?
Exactly. You have to look at the sidebar. This is January 2026. As the author sees it, we're deep in what people are calling the AI revolution. The whole sidebar is just crammed with these headlines.
I'm looking at it now. Agentic AI. Set to explode in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
The technologies behind agentic AI, liquid computing, the future of human-tech symbiosis. It's heavy stuff.
It is. And we're definitely going to circle back and get into the weeds on that tech context later because I think it's absolutely crucial understanding the author's frustration.
Okay.
But maybe we should start with the central premise of the piece itself.
Yeah, let's do that. So the author kicks things off by saying we are, quote, entering an age of abundance. That's in the header of the blog.
Right. This grand, optimistic vision of the future.
But, and this is the big but, we're simultaneously facing a pandemic of, what was that incredible phrase he used?
Artisanal, free-range, organic idiots.
Artisanal, free-range, organic idiots.
I know.
I can't get over that. It's such a specific and devastating insult.
It is.
Because it implies this isn't just accidental. It's not a lack of opportunity or a lack of intelligence. It's cultivated.
It's a lifestyle choice. It's curated. It suggests this form of stupidity is something people are proud of, something they've crafted. It's not just a bug, it's a feature.
And to set the stage for this whole argument, he uses this very dark but, wow, is it effective, this metaphor.
The one about death.
Yes. He writes, being stupid is like being dead. You don't feel anything, but everyone around you is suffering tremendously.
It just stops you in your tracks, that line.
It really does. Okay, let's unpack that because it's heavy. Being stupid is like being dead. What does he mean by that?
I think it's fundamentally about feedback loops, or rather the complete absence of them.
Okay.
When you're dead, obviously your nervous system is offline. You have no proprioception, no sense of where your body is in space.
Yeah.
You don't feel pain, you don't feel anything.
Right, the experience is over for you.
Exactly. The author's arguing that this unknowing stupidity he's describing is a kind of intellectual proprioception failure. You're out there in the world, bumping into people, knocking over delicate ideas, causing all this chaos, but you have no internal mechanism to register the impact you're having.
So all of the negative consequences, all the suffering is completely externalized.
Precisely. The person with this condition feels fine. In fact, they probably feel great.
Yeah, the text says they feel great.
It describes them as being blessed with a confidence usually reserved for Olympic athletes and people who clap when the plane lands.
Oh, the people who clap when the plane lands. I have always had a weird, almost anthropological fascination with that.
It's a strange and wonderful phenomenon.
It is. I mean, who are you clapping for? The pilot is behind a reinforced steel door.
Wearing noise-canceling headphones.
They literally cannot hear you. The flight attendants are busy. You're not clapping for them. You're clapping for yourself. You're clapping for the vibe of having landed successfully.
And that is exactly the author's point. That specific type of confidence, that unshakable belief that your applause matters, that your feeling is a meaningful action, even when it has zero functional connection to reality.
Yeah.
That is the absolute hallmark of this crisis.
So it's not about being slow or uneducated.
No, not at all. It's about being loud and wrong and feeling fantastic about.
Okay, so to make sense of this, the author breaks it down into a taxonomy, a sort of classification system for stupidity.
The 3 stages.
The 3 stages. And I really want to go through these one by one in detail because I think we've all met these people.
Oh, for sure.
And this is the really scary part, we have been these people at some point.
And that's the trap he lays later on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's start at the beginning. Stage 1. The author calls this group the blissfully ignorant, or type I.
This is the baseline model, the entry-level idiot.
It is. These are the people who have absolutely no idea that they're, for lack of a better word, dumb. The text describes them as being completely immune to doubt.
Immune to doubt. Honestly, that sounds like a kind of superpower.
In a weird way, it is. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. Doubt is heavy. It's uncomfortable. Doubt slows you down. If you can surgically remove doubt from your brain, you become incredibly aerodynamic.
You move through the world with less friction.
A lot less. But the author explains why they're immune. And this is where he gets into this almost biological analogy for thinking. The text says, doubt requires thinking, and thinking is cardio for the brain.
Cardio for the brain. I love that.
It's brilliant. And think about it from a literal metabolic standpoint. Your brain is, what, 2% of your body weight, but it consumes 20% of your energy.
It's a power-hungry organ.
Incredibly. So real thinking, critical, analytical, self-doubting thought is metabolically expensive. It is genuinely physically exhausting.
So being a type I idiot it's a form of energy conservation.
From a purely evolutionary standpoint,
Oh.
maybe. If you're running from a saber-toothed tiger, you don't need to deconstruct the socioeconomic factors contributing to the tiger's hunger.
You just run.
You just run. But in 2026, we're not running from tigers. We're navigating incredibly complex, often contradictory information systems. And these type I folks, they refuse to get on the intellectual treadmill. They prefer the couch.
And because they never do the cardio, their opinions are flabby.
Flabby is a good word. The text says they deliver opinions that are fully formed, poorly researched, and aggressively loud.
It's the fully formed part that's key. There's no drafting process.
None. Most of us, when we have a thought, it goes through some kind of internal filter. Is this true? Does this actually make sense? Am I going to get fired if I say this out loud?
The basic checks and balances.
Right. The type I person seems to bypass that filter entirely. The thought occurs and the mouth opens. There's no delay.
The author gives us 2 really powerful analogies for this group. The first one is a classic internet saying, but he really expands on it. The chess with the pigeon analogy.
Ah, yes. He says you cannot argue with a type I because it's like playing chess with a pigeon. It knocks over the pieces, poops on the board, and struts away convinced it won.
It's the image of the pigeon strutting that really gets me, that captures the essence of it.
It implies a complete and total disconnect from the rules of the game being played.
Exactly. When you and I have a debate, we're operating under an assumed shared set of rules.
Logic, evidence, cause and effect, basic intellectual honesty.
Right. The pigeon doesn't know the rules. It doesn't even know it's playing a game. It just knows that if it makes a huge mess and a lot of noise, you, the logical person, will eventually get frustrated and walk away.
And when you walk away, the pigeon registers that as a forfeit. They left, therefore I won. The outcome is victory in its mind.
But the second analogy feels even more, more relevant to this 2026 technological era he's writing in. The Roomba.
Roombas with opinions.
I have a Roomba. I love my Roomba, but it is not a strategic thinker.
No. And think about how a basic Roomba navigates a room. It doesn't have a complex map of your house. It works on very simple vectors. It just goes forward in a straight line until it hits a wall. Thunk.
And then it just turns, like a random 30 degrees and goes forward again. Thunk.
And the text says, Type I people navigate the world of ideas in exactly the same way.
They just bumped into facts.
They bump into a fact, thunk. They don't absorb the fact. They don't integrate it into their worldview. They certainly don't analyze it. They just bounce off it and go careening off in a slightly different but still wrong direction.
They're in constant motion, but they're not actually going anywhere.
And the most important part is they're completely unbothered by the collisions.
That's the key. The text uses the words unburdened, unteachable.
Because to be teachable, you have to first admit that you don't know something. The collision with the wall has to register as meaningful information. To the Roomba, the wall isn't information. It's just an obstacle to bounce off of.
Okay, so that's the bottom of the barrel. Or at least we think it is. But then the author does something surprising. He offers this little glimmer of hope in stage 2.
Stage 2. The self-aware idiot, or type 2.
This is your favorite category.
It's my favorite by far. The text calls them the emotional support idiots of society.
Which on the surface sounds really condescending, but I don't think it's meant to be. I think it's meant with a lot of affection, actually.
Oh, it absolutely is. He's saying these are the people who are, for all intents and purposes, still dumb, in the sense that they don't have the answers. But, and this is the crucial difference, they know they don't know.
And he describes their mental state as brain puberty.
Brain puberty. It just paints such a perfect picture. You think of puberty, you think of acne, awkwardness, your voice cracking.
It's uncomfortable. It's a transition phase.
Exactly. It's that awkward, confusing, sometimes painful moment when you realize the world is more complicated than you thought. When you realize you don't know something, you feel that little pang of shame. You feel a bit awkward. You hesitate.
The text calls out hesitation specifically. It says that they use phrases like, look, I might be wrong about this, but.
And the author has this great little quip. He says, they are usually correct about the first part.
They are wrong.
They are almost certainly wrong about the thing they're about to say. But that hesitation, that I might be wrong, is the single most valuable commodity in the 21st century information ecosystem.
Because hesitation creates a gap.
It creates a space.
Yeah.
And in that space, new information can actually enter. The pigeon doesn't hesitate. The Roomba doesn't hesitate. They are pure momentum. The type 2 person pauses.
They Google things mid-sentence.
Yes.
I do that all the time. I'll be in the middle of a conversation or even an argument, and I'll pull out my phone and say, hang on, let me just double-check that date, or what was the name of that study? Does that make me a type 2?
According to this text, that very action makes you the last best hope for civilization.
Wow. Okay, I will take that.
The author compares this group to a golden retriever of intellect.
A golden retriever.
Yeah. Not necessarily solving quantum physics.
Yeah.
Not a border collie. But good-hearted, eager to please, and this is the most important part, teachable. If you throw a ball for a golden retriever, it brings it back. If you tell it no, it stops and looks at you, waiting for the next command.
Whereas if you tell a pigeon no, it pecks you.
Or poops on your chessboard. It's a profound distinction, the simple ability to stop when presented with corrective feedback.
So the argument is that if humanity actually survives the challenges of the 2020s,
it won't be because of the handful of geniuses locked away in labs. It will be because of the vast army of self-aware idiots who are willing to listen to the geniuses and say, okay, I don't fully understand this, but you're the expert, so I'll trust you.
But then we get to the real villain of the piece. Stage 3, the type 3, semi-informed enthusiast.
The final boss.
That's what he calls them. But why is this the final boss? Logically, it feels like the blissfully ignorant pigeon, the type I, should be the most dangerous. They're the most disconnected from reality.
You'd think so. But the problem with the pigeon is also its saving grace. It's easy to spot.
It looks and sounds like a pigeon.
Exactly. You see the pigeon strutting around, you know what it is. You don't take it seriously. You don't give the pigeon the nuclear launch codes.
Fair point.
The type 3 person, on the other hand, is camouflaged. They sound smart. They look the part. They use the vocabulary of intelligence, the jargon of the field.
But the author says they're powered by vibes rather than facts.
That's the core of it. They know just enough to be catastrophically wrong with unshakable conviction.
And this is where we get the do your own research crowd.
Oh, the text goes so hard on this. Do your own research. On its face, it sounds so noble, doesn't it? It sounds like the Enlightenment. It sounds like the scientific method.
It does. I mean, isn't doing your own research a good thing? Shouldn't we be encouraging people to look things up for themselves?
In a perfect world, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the author takes the time to define what research actually means to a type 3 person in 2026. It doesn't mean going to a library or reading a peer-reviewed paper or consulting multiple primary sources. It means, and this is a direct quote, watching a 30-second clip or listening to a man in a truck yelling into a ring light.
The man in a truck. We have all seen that video. It's a whole genre. Why is it always a truck? And why is he always yelling?
It's an aesthetic. It's a performance of authenticity. To the Type 3 mind, the mainstream media, or the experts, are all polished and professional and therefore fake. So, logically, the guy in the Oakley sunglasses, who's sweaty and yelling and filming vertically in his F-150, he must be telling the real truth precisely because he lacks that polish.
It's a complete inversion of credentials.
It's a powerful logical fallacy. Lack of polish equals authenticity.
And the text has this killer line about how these people interact with actual experts. It says they will explain your own profession to you.
With the confidence of a TED Talk and the accuracy of a horoscope.
That line, the accuracy of a horoscope, that is just devastatingly precise.
It's perfect because it implies that their statements are so vague and vibe-based that they could apply to almost anything, yet they deliver them as if they are precise, hard-won data.
And the author makes this funny but also terrifying point that these people are the reason we have warning labels on things.
On shampoo bottles, yeah. Do not ingest.
His logic is that a type I person, the pigeon, might eat the shampoo by accident, just, a moment of pure chaos.
Right. An unthinking act.
But a type 3 person, they would eat the shampoo on purpose with a spoon because they did their own research and watch a video from a guy in a truck who told them that the sulfates in the shampoo are actually a secret government-suppressed detox for your pineal gland.
It'll decalcify your third eye.
Exactly. They are just smart enough to come up with a complex pseudo-scientific rationalization for doing something profoundly stupid.
That's the real danger of the semi-informed. They're smart enough to open the bottle, smart enough to build a whole ideology around drinking the contents, but dumb enough to actually poison themselves.
So to recap our taxonomy, we have the pigeon, the golden retriever, and the guy in the truck.
A menagerie of modern thought.
But, stupidity doesn't just float in the ether. It needs a habitat. It needs an ecosystem to survive and thrive. And that brings us to part 2 of the blog post, which is called The Infrastructure of Stupidity.
This is where the author really shifts his focus from psychology to sociology. He argues that in 2026, stupidity isn't just a personal feeling anymore.
It's been industrialized.
It has a supply chain, it has branding, it has merchandise. The author uses this central metaphor of the International Airport of Stupidity.
An airport? Why an airport specifically?
Well, think about what an airport is. It's a transient space, it's impersonal, it's crowded, everyone is stressed and slightly disoriented, it's filled with expensive, generally useless things.
And it's global.
That's the most important part. It's global. The author says we used to just have the village idiot, the damage was contained, everyone in the village knew that Dave was an idiot, and they just, worked around him.
Dave just sat on the fence and yelled at the clouds. He didn't have a podcast with 1 million subscribers.
Exactly. Now, Dave has a platform. We don't have village idiots. We have platformed idiots. And through the airport of the internet, their particular brand of local stupidity is industrialized and exported globally, instantly, for free.
Okay, so let's talk about the specific terminals in this airport. The first one he identifies is, of course, social media. He calls it the Olympics of confidence.
A perfect name for it. And he drills down into the core mechanism here, which he calls the algorithm of certainty.
The algorithm of certainty.
This is such a crucial point. The algorithms that run these platforms, they do not care about truth. They don't care about nuance or accuracy. They care about one thing and one thing only: engagement.
Clicks, shares, comments.
Right. And what drives engagement more than anything else? Certainty, conflict, strong emotion.
So if a real scientist gets on TikTok and says, well, the preliminary data on this new virus is interesting, but there are several conflicting variables, and we need to do more research before drawing any firm conclusions.
Swipe. Boring. Next video. You're punished by the algorithm for being responsible.
But if a type 3 guy in his truck gets on and screams, they are lying to you. It's the 5G towers activating the virus in the water supply.
Boom. Viral. Millions of views. Thousands of comments either agreeing or arguing. The algorithm doesn't see truth or falsehood. It just sees a massive spike in engagement and pushes the video to more people.
So it actively rewards the behaviors of the type I and type 3 individuals.
It's fuel on their fire. And it actively suppresses the thoughtful hesitation of the type 2. Doubt is algorithmically disadvantageous.
The text also mentions the format itself. The 47-second vertical videos filmed in cars explaining quantum physics.
Or, the entire history of the Israel-Palestine conflict. The author also notes this pervasive phrase you see everywhere. People don't want to hear this, but...
Oh, I see that comment constantly. People don't want to hear this truth.
And the author's response in the text is just perfect. He says, no one asked. Literally no one was wondering what you think. It's a rhetorical trick. It's a straw man. They invent a fictional, powerful audience that is trying to suppress their truth so they can feel brave for saying something that is usually just incredibly stupid or obvious.
Okay, from the chaos of social media, we move to the neatly organized world of corporate life, specifically LinkedIn.
Yes, the corporate delusion, Terminal B.
The text describes LinkedIn as Facebook for people who think they're better than Facebook.
And he says the vibe of the site, the smell of it, is ambition and desperation mixed together in a beige suit.
That is so visceral. I can literally smell the stale office coffee and polyester just hearing that.
And he goes after a very specific type of content on there. The fake parables. We've all seen this genre of post.
Oh, yes. It always starts with some mundane event. I was running late for a crucial meeting with the CEO, but I stopped to help a janitor who had dropped his keys.
And as I handed them to him, he looked me in the eye and taught me the single most important lesson about supply chain management I have ever learned.
And it turns out that janitor was actually the CEO in disguise testing his employees.
Exactly. Or the other classic, my 3-year-old taught me about B2B sales strategies this morning.
And the author's response in the text is just a brutal reality check, he writes. No, they didn't. Your child spilled juice on the floor. You reverse engineered it into a brand story about pivoting to new market.
And this goes right back to the unknowing part of the crisis. These people aren't just lying for clicks. They've done it so much that they are reframing their own reality into a constant marketing funnel.
They've lost the ability to just have a normal human moment.
Everything is content. Everything is a lesson. And that is a profound form of stupidity. It's a complete loss of connection to the real, messy, non-parable world.
It's performative wisdom. It has the shape of wisdom, the language of wisdom, but the core is completely hollow.
The guy in the truck is aggressive delusion. The LinkedIn poster is polite, corporate-approved delusion. But at their core, they are both fundamentally detached from reality.
And that delusion then walks from the screen into the actual office. Corporate stupidity in a blazer.
This section is all about the culture of meetings. Specifically, those people who can speak for 10 solid minutes and communicate absolutely nothing of substance.
Sentences with perfect grammar but no skeleton. All fluff.
And the buzzwords. He has a whole list.
Let's circle back on that. Let's unpack that. We need to ideate on this synergy. Let's take this offline.
I have to admit, I have definitely used Circle Back.
I think we all have. I think it's impossible to survive in an office without it. Does that make us part of the crisis?
Well, the author would say it depends on the intent. He provides a translation for these phrases. He says what they really mean is, I do not understand the problem you are describing, but I am emotionally attached to sounding important and in control.
Wow. That's the sting. It's not about clarity. It's about the emotional attachment to status.
So if you say, let's circle back, because you genuinely need to go find some data and come back to the conversation, that's a functional use of the phrase.
But if you say it because you have no idea what's going on and you just want to escape the conversation gracefully...
That's the crisis in action. It's using language to obscure a lack of understanding rather than to create understanding.
And there's a really chilling little note here about the year 2026. The text says that when these corporate buzzword types discover AI, they become dumb and futuristic.
Which is a truly terrifying combination.
High-velocity stupidity.
We'll get more into that in the context section. But just imagine a Type 3 middle manager who's an expert at saying nothing, now armed with an AI that can generate 500 pages of beautifully formatted nothing in 10 seconds.
They don't get smarter. They just scale their stupidity.
Infinitely.
And the final habitat he mentions is smaller, more intimate, the group chat. He calls it the think tank of wrongness.
This is the family WhatsApp group, the neighborhood chat, the fantasy football league.
And he identifies what he calls the source problem. There is always one person in that group who knows things.
The inside man. And their source is never Reuters or the Associated Press. It's always a cousin who works for the government, my barber, or this great channel on Telegram.
Or my favorite, a blurry screenshot of a Facebook post with red circles drawn on it.
Why is it always red circles?
The red circle is the mark of truth.
It's a visual hack. It tells your brain, look here. This is the important part the sheep are missing. It bypasses your critical thinking. The author notes that the information from these sources is never, ever right, but it is always early and it is always loud.
Okay, I want to pause the taxonomy for a minute here. We've covered the different types of people and the places where they thrive, but for me, the most interesting part of this whole blog post, structurally, is how it's written.
Right.
The author doesn't just use one voice. It's like he's not satisfied with his own rant, so he rewrites the same core argument in all these different styles.
This is part 3 of the piece, the variations of voice. And it's a huge rhetorical flex. Paramendra is basically showing off. He's demonstrating how the crisis of stupidity looks when viewed through all these different cultural and literary lenses.
Okay, let's look at the first one, version 3. He calls it South Park energy.
With the subtitle, An Inconvenient Amount of Stupidity.
Now, for listeners who might not be familiar with South Park, we should probably explain the vibe. It's an animated show. It's often vulgar, but its core philosophy is usually deeply cynical or even libertarian. Its main target is almost always hypocrisy and people who take themselves too seriously.
Right. In the South Park universe, the biggest possible sin isn't being wrong, it's being earnest. It's being a try-hard.
So how does the blog post channel that specific energy?
The tone becomes much more aggressive, much more mocking. He talks about needing a controlled burn of bad ideas. But the key insight in this section is that stupidity is fundamentally a reaction.
A reaction.
The text argues, thinking takes time. Reaction is instant. And in the modern world, instant feels like power.
Reaction feels like you're winning.
Exactly. If someone presents a complex idea and you react instantly by screaming or mocking it or dismissing it with a meme, you feel dominant. The person who is actually thinking has to sit there for a second, process the information, maybe even look confused. And to the South Park brain, that looks like weakness.
This connects directly to the conspiracy theorist angle he mentions in this section, the mantra of, I don't trust experts.
Because in this worldview, as the text says, nuance is a scam. Complexity is a trick. If someone tried to explain the intricate details of supply chains or epidemiology, the South Park brain hears, you're trying to confuse me with your fancy words and your college degree. The truth should be simple enough for me to understand immediately.
So stupidity becomes a kind of defense mechanism against overwhelming complexity.
It's a shield. I reject your complicated, uncomfortable reality, and I will substitute my own simple, loud, and much more entertaining one.
And then he just completely shifts gears, a total 180 to version 4, the literary Swift-Wallace vibe.
Yeah, this is him channeling Jonathan Swift or David Foster Wallace. It's highbrow, it's intellectual, it's a bit melancholy.
The title for this version is On the Tragic Confidence of the Unthinking. It sounds like it should be published in the Paris Review.
It does. And the insight here is much deeper and, frankly, much sadder. He argues that the real tragedy of this kind of stupidity is that it arrests growth. It freezes the self.
What does he mean by that? How does it freeze you?
Well, personal growth, intellectual growth, it comes from curiosity. And curiosity can only exist in the absence of certainty. If you believe you already have all the answers, if you're a Type I pigeon or a Type 3 guy in a truck, then you have no reason to be curious. You can't learn. You are frozen at the developmental stage where you decided you knew everything.
And the text here talks about the tyranny of partial knowledge.
This is a really deep psychological point. He says people are fundamentally seeking coherence rather than truth.
Coherence, not truth.
The human brain is hardwired to hate chaos and randomness. We need a story that makes sense. A grand conspiracy theory is a very, very coherent story. A secret group of bad guys is doing bad things for their own benefit. That makes perfect sense. It's a clean narrative.
Whereas the truth?
The truth is usually that vast, complex systems are failing due to a combination of incompetence, entropy, conflicting incentives, and pure random chance. That is not a coherent or satisfying story. It's terrifying.
So people will deliberately choose the stupid but coherent story because it makes them feel safer than the smart but chaotic reality.
They will sacrifice accuracy on the altar of feeling right.
And the solution that's offered in this more literary version is simply restraint.
It's a call for intellectual humility. He says that wisdom begins not with an answer, but with the phrase, I don't know, yet. The yet is important, but the I don't know is the beginning of all knowledge. It is the absolute antithesis of the South Park energy.
Then we're back in the office for version 5, Office Corporate Satire. This one focuses on the middle manager with a podcast voice.
The key insight here is about the allocation of a finite resource, time. The text makes the bold claim that corporate America gives the dumbest people the most meeting time.
And he offers a simple metric to prove it, the reply all metric.
This is just brilliant. The text says, the slightly smarter employees are the ones who don't hit reply all by accident.
It's such a low bar for intelligence.
But it's so true. What is hitting reply all on a 50-person email chain to say thanks?
It's a fundamental lack of awareness. It's a failure to consider your audience. It's the assumption that everyone needs to hear from you. It's pure type I behavior in a digital corporate form.
Then we get version 6, the political take, the age of the loud and the certain.
And we should note, the author is very careful here. He's clearly frustrated with the political climate, but he avoids naming specific parties or politicians. He criticizes the mechanism of modern politics itself.
He calls democracy a talent show. A talent show where the winner isn't the most competent or the most knowledgeable, but whoever yells the simplest message, the clearest. The text draws this sharp contrast between policy and vibes.
Complex legislative issues get flattened into three-word slogans.
And nuanced analysis becomes instant outrage. But the part of this section that really resonated with me was his point about exhaustion.
Explain that.
He says, the informed are exhausted. And why are they exhausted? Because reality is complicated and heavy. Facts have weight. Nuance has footnotes. Carrying all that intellectual weight around all day makes you tired.
But the ignorant, the type I and type 3 folks,
They're traveling light. They dropped the heavy burden of facts and evidence miles ago. They're brimming with energy. They can post 50 times a day because they aren't weighed down by the exhausting need to actually be right.
that explains so much about the dynamics of the modern internet, that energy asymmetry.
It's Brandolini's law, the bullshit asymmetry principle, but on an industrial scale. The amount of energy needed to refute bullshit is an order of magnitude larger than the energy needed to produce it.
And in 2026, as he points out with generative AI, the production cost of bullshit has dropped to effectively zero.
Which brings us right back to the context.
Okay, we've danced around it enough. We need to dig into this. We need to understand why this post was written on this specific Monday in January 2026. This isn't just a timeless essay on stupidity, it's a direct reaction to its moment. This is part 4, the contextual deep dive.
And to do that, we have to stop looking at the main text and focus entirely on the sidebar of the blog. We have to understand who this author Paramendra is, or at least how he presents himself.
The outline calls this section the Age of Abundance. The very first line of the blog post is, the impending age of abundance was prophesied.
Prophesied, that's a very deliberate, almost religious choice of word.
And you see it reflected in the sidebar. There's a link to a book he's apparently written called Kalkiism, the economic and spiritual blueprint for an age of abundance.
Okay, we need to explain this reference. Kalki is the 10th and final avatar of the Hindu god Vishnu.
The one who arrives at the end of the age.
The destroyer of filth, yes.
Yeah.
The prophecy is that when the world, the Kali Yuga, becomes so corrupt, so filled with aharma unrighteousness that it can't be fixed, Kalki arrives on a white horse with a blazing sword to cleanse the world and restart the cycle, to usher in the Satya Yuga, the age of truth.
So the author is framing this very moment, January 2026, as this epic mythological turning point, the end of a dark age and the potential beginning of a golden age.
Potentially. And that's where the friction comes from. Because if you look at the other posts in the sidebar, we have the tools for that golden age sitting right in front of us.
This is the AI stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The sidebar is full of posts about agentic AI.
Let's define that term for people because it's key. In, say, 2023 or 2024, what we mostly had was generative AI, chatbots. You typed a prompt, write me a poem about a sad robot, and it would generate text.
Right, it was a content creator.
Exactly. Agentic AI, which the sidebar claims is set to explode in 2026, is a whole different beast. An AI agent is a piece of software that can actually do things in the world on your behalf. You give it a high-level goal, like plan a one-week vacation to Tokyo for me and my family next June, find the cheapest flights, book hotels with good reviews near a subway station, and then clear my work calendar for those dates.
And it goes and does all of that.
It goes and does it. It logs into airline websites, it compares prices, it uses your credit card to make reservations, it accesses your calendar, it has agency.
It can act on the world.
It can act. So the author is seeing this almost godlike technology coming online. A technology that could, in theory, solve logistics for global hunger, design new clean energy sources, personalize education for every child on Earth. That's the age of abundance he's talking about.
But standing in the way of that utopian future
Is the International Airport of Stupidity.
it's a type 3 guy. The guy in the truck.
Exactly. Now imagine the Type 3 guy, the semi-informed enthusiast, getting his hands on a powerful agentic AI.
Oh, God.
He doesn't say, solve world hunger. He says to the AI, my goal is to maximize the reach of this new theory I have that commercial water filters are secretly implanting micro-receivers in people's brains.
And the AI doesn't have a truth filter.
It's just a tool. It doesn't know it's a crazy conspiracy theory. It just executes the goal. So it creates 50,000 convincing-looking websites. It writes 1,000 fake scientific papers. It deploys an army of bots to argue in the comment sections of every major news outlet. It drafts and sends emails to every single congressman.
So you have a super intelligent, hyper-efficient tool being wielded by a super confident, unknowing idiot.
And that right there is the crisis. That is the global crisis of unknowing stupidity. It's not just that people are dumb, it's that in 2026, their stupidity is being amplified by the most powerful technological leverage in human history.
It's like giving a machine gun to a toddler.
It's giving a nuclear weapon to a Roomba.
A nuclear Roomba. That's a truly terrifying image.
And that explains the anger, the sheer frustration in the text. You can feel it. The author is a profound techno-optimist. He sees the calculated potential of AI to cleanse the world of inefficiency and poverty. But he's a deep human pessimist. He sees the pigeons knocking over the beautiful, complex chessboard just as the game is about to begin.
The sidebar is also filled with geopolitical posts. He's writing about a novel called The Great Subcontinent Uprising, but also real-world stuff. Trump, tariffs, Iran, Venezuela, Modi.
The world is on a knife's edge in his telling of January 2026. We're in this incredibly delicate transition period, and the author is basically standing on a soapbox and screaming, we cannot afford to be this stupid right now. The stakes have never been higher.
The stupidity is no longer harmless. It's an existential threat.
Precisely. If we mess this up and the vibes win out over the facts at this critical juncture, we don't get the age of abundance. We get a high-tech dark age.
Dumb and futuristic.
Dumb and futuristic. A world with flying cars and medieval thinking.
So, is there a solution? Is there any way out? Or are we doomed to this neon dark age he's so afraid of? That brings us to part 5, solutions and final diagnosis.
And he offers this mix of purely satirical proposals and some genuinely serious advice.
Let's start with the satire. First up, taxing stupidity.
He jokes, if stupidity were taxed, we'd have universal health care and a colony on Mars by Thursday.
I mean, honestly, he might not be wrong. I'm listening.
It's a very funny thought experiment. But the practicalities are a nightmare. How do you measure it? Who gets to be the arbiter of stupidity? It's a slippery slope.
Well, that leads directly to his second satirical proposal, the thinking license.
The idea is that before you're allowed to speak in public or post on a major social media platform, you have to pass a basic critical thinking exam.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. That sounds incredibly authoritarian. That sounds like a free speech nightmare.
It is.
Who writes the test? If the government writes the test, they will just design it to ban all dissent. Isn't this exactly the kind of top-down elitism that the man in the truck is yelling about in the first place?
You are 100% right. It is elitist. And in practice, it would be dangerous and dystopian. The author knows this. It's a satirical proposal designed to make a point.
And the point is?
The point is to think about the questions on the test. They aren't political. They are things like, question 1, what is a source? Question 2, is yelling a form of evidence?
Is yelling a form of evidence?
A simple multiple choice, yes or no. Ideally, every single person should answer no. But in the Olympics of confidence, that is social media, yelling is absolutely treated as a form of evidence. So while a literal license is a terrible idea, the standard it represents is valid. We need a massive cultural shift where yelling is seen as embarrassing, not commanding.
And what's the penalty for failing this hypothetical test?
He says, if you fail twice, you are not fined or jailed. You must simply listen for a year.
Forced listening. A 1-year ban on broadcasting your own opinions.
Can you imagine the silence?
Yeah.
Can you imagine the Type I and Type 3 pundits being forced to just take in information without responding for a full year?
It would be a global vacation for the rest of us.
It would be the age of abundance right there.
But, okay, since we can't legally mandate listening, the only real solution has to be on the individual level, and this is where he sets his trap, the mirror moment.
This is, I think, the most important and wisest part of the entire text. The trap.
What do you mean by the trap?
The text says this, and it's a direct quote. If you were reading this and thinking, yes, finally, someone said it, everyone else is so dumb, Congratulations, you are in the danger zone.
I have to admit, I fell right into that trap. My first time reading this, I was mentally making a list of all the people in my life who really need to read it. Oh, my uncle needs to see this, my coworker Sarah. This is all about her.
We all do it. It's a natural defense mechanism. The ego wants to protect itself, to place itself outside the group being criticized. But the author says the only known vaccine for this crisis is self-reflection. It is the active, painful willingness to ask yourself, wait a minute, am I the idiot here?
Am I the Roomba?
Am I the pigeon? If you can genuinely ask that question and then quietly wait for an honest answer, you are safe. By the logic of the text, you've just proven you're a type 2. You're the golden retriever.
It's the Dunning-Kruger effect, isn't it?
It's a perfect encapsulation of it. The Dunning-Kruger effect posits that incompetent people lack the metacognitive skills to even recognize their own incompetence. But the inverse is also true. Genuinely competent people, or at least teachable people, are often full of doubt about their own knowledge.
So we shouldn't run from doubt. We should embrace it.
The author suggests we should weaponize it. Treat absolute certainty as a warning sign. The moment you feel 100% sure about a complex topic, treat that feeling not as a sign of intelligence, but as a symptom of a potential problem. Doubt is the brakes on the Roomba. It's the only thing that stops you from repeatedly slamming into the wall.
The text ends with this haunting, perfectly concise image. He says, somewhere right now, a man who can't find the HDMI port on his television is explaining geopolitics to the world.
It's a perfect summary of the entire piece, isn't it? That fundamental mismatch between practical, technical incompetence and vast, rhetorical confidence.
And the final line of the post is just 4 words. Confidence has Wi-Fi.
That's the bumper sticker for 2026.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the very specific madness of Monday, January 26, 2026, what is the ultimate takeaway for our listener? What do we do with all this?
I think the takeaway is that we are, as the author suggests, standing on the threshold of something potentially amazing. The age of abundance isn't just a fantasy. The technology is real. The potential is there. But the final barrier isn't technical. It's psychological. It's us. It's our own cognitive laziness and our addiction to the feeling of certainty.
We have to be willing to do the cardio.
We have to do the brain cardio. We have to check our own sources. We have to be willing to hesitate and say, I might be wrong. We have to be willing to feel awkward for a moment.
And we need to beware the vibe.
Always beware the vibe. If an explanation for a complex problem feels too simple, too emotionally satisfying, too angry, or just too perfect, it's probably stupid.
Be the golden retriever.
Don't be the pigeon.
And for God's sake, please figure out where the HDMI port is before you start your global geopolitical podcast.
Words to live by.
Thank you for joining us on this dive. It was a dense one, a pretty cynical one, but I think a really necessary one.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Keep thinking, keep doubting, and we will see you next time.